أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي. So I don't know if you guys remember the last time we talked about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's name Al-Fattah, which means he's the opener of doors, right? So today I remember like when I did it, I was like, we have a lot to talk about because it's such a beautiful name. And the notes that I have today, we're just going to continue off with that. So yeah, like when you think about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's name, Al-Fattah, the word Fattah comes from the root word Iftah. Iftah means deciding. Let's say you have next semester where you have to choose classes, right? So then you're gonna be like, okay, I have to choose either this class or this class. Sometimes, we have time conflicts, like times like one class we want to take, but then another class we want to also take, and then it kind of like, clashes at the same time. So yeah, like that's the time where you have to decide whether you're gonna take either this class or that class. Let's say you have a psychology class, you have like a math class, and you also want to take a bio class, like a biology class. And at the time you have to choose like the Arabic word, like for ifta, like you have to choose between one or two. So at that time you can use the Arabic word ifta for your choosing, right? So choosing comes from ifta comes from the same word fattah, which means Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the one who decides. Sometimes it's really hard for us to sometimes it's really hard for us to decide whether what we want in our life, right? Sometimes we have those moments where we have to choose majors, we have to choose food, we have to choose different options. We're always constantly given options. We're always constantly given paths, or we're always constantly given choices where we have to decide, right? And sometimes we think that we are not capable to decide. We think that I don't know. We get confused. And for us being humans, we always get confused, right? And at that time, you think of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's name being Fattah, that he's the one who does ifta for you. He's the one who decides for you. And that's where the name comes from, like Al-Fattah. So we're gonna go around the room as we always do. And this time I wanted to ask you guys, let's say, what was one time you had to decide about something and that decision was really hard for you? It could be anything. Sometimes you were given two choices. Let's say both of them looks really good, and then you have to choose which one you want. So I will start first. So I had next semester we're gonna have spring 2026, and at that time I had two options between this one time. I had one time from 11 to 12:20 next semester. Tuesdays, Thursdays, and I had to choose between two of the classes that I really wanted to take. Both of the classes are really, really nice. When it sounds like I had one class about psychology of language, and another class was psychology of addiction. But the psychology of addiction class is taught by my favorite professor. I'm taking two of her classes this semester, and I wanted to take one of her other classes next semester. But at the same time, there was other option for me where it's about psychology of language. You learn about language, how do we comprehend, and it was really a tough choice because I wanted to take both of the classes, but they always they have a time conflict. They exist in the same time. And obviously I went with psychology of addiction because she's my favorite professor. But at that time I felt like it was a really hard decision for me to choose which one should I go for, which one is good for me, which one I'm going to learn more, right? So at that time, it was I was given two options and I had to decide. So I wanted to ask you guys too, what were one time you were given also options and both of them resonated with you. Both of them sound good to you, but you had to go with one. It could be about anything, major wise. It could be about it could be something simple as food. You were given options between choosing this or that. And I always get confused. I am someone who tries new things, but most of the time the new things end up being something I don't like. So it's whether I should just stay with the safer option or should I try something new, go on this adventure, right? So we're gonna go from this side, and you're gonna tell me your name, and you're gonna tell me one time you had to choose between two things. Okay. We're gonna go this, you're gonna tell me your name. We're gonna go from this side, yeah.
My name is Razia, and for me, it was choosing between what college to go to.
Okay.
I was deciding from either Hunter College or Stony Brook.
Okay.
And Hunter is in the city,
Yeah.
I wanted that city girl college.
Oh, you wanted the city girl experience, yeah.
And it's also good for med bio, and all of my friends they go there. It would have been cheaper.
Yeah.
Hunter was
top option,
But
yeah.
Stony Brook is like, you know,
You had to choose, like, at that time it was really hard.
University.
Yeah, right. At the time, you had to choose between which one to go, and you know, when it comes to the city girl, like the experience that you were on your own. Like I had to go to the city, I think 2 weeks before for this university that I wanted to talk in, and I went there, and it's like at the end of like uptown Bronx, and I had to take like change subways, and when you change subway, it's really confusing where to go down to, and like it gets really confusing, but it kind of builds your character. It kind of builds your like, you know, strength, like, oh, I can do this by myself. It builds your confidence, right? So yeah, like that experience. But you also wanted to come here because like this university has a lot of like, you know, opportunities. So at the time you had to decide. And did you like, how did you decide? How did you like come about coming to Stony
I
Brook?
mean, I took a tour and then
Okay.
I fell in love. But now I'm thinking of transferring out.
You were?
It's too stressful here.
Yeah, like you think it's more competitive here.
And I need to go back to the city like to be with my family.
Yeah. You live in the city?
Yeah.
Okay. And do you want to like transfer sophomore year, or like you were considering it?
Yeah. So for NYU, their fall 2026 transfer, it's due March 15th.
Okay.
So I might apply before then and see if I get in.
Okay. Inshallah. So you want to go to the city? There, it's like NYU or Hunter. Okay. But you
NYU definitely.
NYU definitely, yeah. Like you were like building up your like resume, you have to submit, and then so for sure you're not gonna be here.
I don't know yet.
You don't know yet.
I'm planning to see next semester how it goes. This semester was just not it.
Yeah, like you think it's really hard here, or like the environment, like you think it's really stressful to like, you know, go about your studies.
Like the academic environment, but socially, like.
Socially is really
so
nice, yeah. Yeah, but the academic environment gets really like, you know, stressful, where you were like, I don't know, I'm caught up with this, I have other things to do. Yeah. But at the time you had to decide, and then you came here. But inshallah, whatever happens in the future, whichever university you're like meant to go to, that's where it's supposed to be. So inshallah, like let's say you have like you go to the city, that's where your experience is gonna grow a lot. And yeah, inshallah that happens. But yeah, at the time you had this like, you know, choice where you had to choose. All right, so we're gonna move to you. You're gonna tell me your name and one of the choices that you had to like, one of the times you had to choose between two things.
And I feel like there's too many.
Yeah, it could be like a lot of them. Yeah, you can share.
Yeah, as an indecisive person, like every thought I have is basically yes or no, or
Yeah.
do I do this or do I do that?
Yeah.
Do I do this? But I guess one that really came back was choosing my major.
Okay.
Because I was all over the place when I wanted to choose a major. So
Yeah.
it was mainly like family restrictions and everything. They were like, we're not trying to lose you while you're doing your job. I was like, yeah, that's fine. So then I took comp sci in my high school.
Computer science,
for
okay.
2 years, and it was like a love-hate relationship, like I am right now with my major too.
Yeah.
But I was like, while choosing my colleges, I was like between my top 3 choices were either like mechanical, biomed, or
Mechanical engineering, biomedical engineering,
and computer engineering.
computer engineering.
Computer engineering was supposed to be my top one.
Yeah.
But like I already had experience in like the hardware and the software from high school.
Yeah.
And then I was like, maybe I get too bored with computers all the time. And then I was like, but I have experience.
Yeah.
So it was between a matter of choosing my interests, like exploring them, or just going with what I already know.
Yeah, like being in the safety or trying something new.
Right.
Yeah.
Like it's something similar to what you said
in
class. But I was like, I like building things and
right.
So I wasn't sure if I wanted to go into mechanical or if I wanted to go into computer, because Stony Brook doesn't offer minors for either of them.
Oh yeah, because you wanted to still have one of them. Yeah.
So maybe like in the future I could do like a specialization. So that's why I chose mechanical.
So you can do concentration.
Right.
Okay.
So
But yeah, so you went with the later option, which is to try something new. And at the time, like you really wanted to study this like major that you were studying at the time.
I don't know, because I came from a liberal arts school, so I was I was one of the very few people that actually went into like the engineering fields.
Yeah.
So I didn't have much people to like rely on to ask, what their experience is.
Right.
But I was like, hey, I mean, it can't be anything bad with.
Yeah, and you're doing aerospace science.
Not too sure yet. At this point, I'm trying to pass all my
Okay. But which one did you choose? Like for now, what's your major?
Mechanical.
Mechanical
But
engineering.
the
Okay.
concentration now it's like a lot more options.
Oh, okay. So aerospace like one of the options where you can and then you might want to do like computer science. Okay, sounds good. By the time you had to choose, right? And yeah, sometimes choosing the later option, which is trying something new, might bring you something like something you never expected, right? So always like let's say you were given an opportunity where you have to choose. Always try to choose the one that is unknown in a way, but because you never know what's gonna happen, right? And like whatever comes in our way, it's from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in a way where He gives us different options, where He gives us different opportunities. And if we say yes, it's one of the things that I do is I say yes to everything. Anything that comes my way, any opportunities, any internship I see, I always apply. Like regardless of whether or not I'm gonna hear something back from them, regardless anything, I just try to find something to focus on in the future, like something to just see what's gonna happen. So yeah, that was a good you had to choose, right? So we're gonna come to you. You're gonna tell me your name, and when was the one time you had to choose?
Okay, so hi, my name is Hannah, and the one thing for me was also my major.
Okay.
Because initially, when I applied, right, biomedical engineering, and I was so sure that this was okay, and if I wanted to do pre-med, then this would be fine. But come to, what is it? When the class schedules were being made, I was really rethinking it. I was like, is this really what I want to do?
Yeah.
Because they were making me take some wacky classes that I don't think I would need.
Yeah, like you don't want to take them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So then I was like, okay, I think I need to change. And people were like, what the heck? You want to change already? And it was before the semester even started, but I was like, no, I have to.
You have
So
to.
anyways, I changed. I didn't even get to change my major because I was an incoming freshman, so they don't let them change for their first semester. I wanted to change to biochem, and so I was able to do that. I was able to change my whole schedule around that for my first semester, but I was still declared as biomed engineering.
So you chose biomedical engineering in the beginning, but you wanted to change it to biochemistry.
Yeah. So I think it was a few weeks ago or a month ago, I was able to change my major to biochemistry. It's still, for me, it is an option if I want to do biology in a concentration or biochem. I'm not really sure, but for now, it seems like I'm just gonna stick with biochem and see, because it's the same thing as bio except for the later courses. So I'm just gonna see if I like it.
So you're still in the middle, where whether you're gonna still stick with the major that you have, or you're still gonna choose the biochemistry.
Yeah.
Okay. And then so far, which classes are you taking? Which side of the biology that you're focusing on? Right now. Right now, are you taking more biochemistry related classes or biomedical?
Well, the biochemistry classes are not until my
sophomore year, junior year. Right now, you're just taking the prerequisite.
Yeah.
Yeah. So let's say when you become a sophomore, then you're gonna be open to exposed to the classes. Then you're gonna decide that which one is good for me. But yeah, you're still waiting for the choice to come to you. Yeah. So yeah, in life, we are always given options. We're always given choices where we have to decide. And sometimes we think that it's too big for us. Sometimes we think that, oh, I don't know what to do. We get confused, right? That's when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's name, Al-Fattah, comes in. That I remember giving this example where, when you come in a room and let's say the room is locked, you want someone to open the door for you. Right, and when someone opens the door for you, that's when you know that the door needs to be opened by someone. That's when you realize the importance of a person who's there on the other side to open the door. If the door wasn't locked, if it wasn't something that you came as an obstacle, let's say you come into the room and room being locked is an obstacle, and you have someone who needs to open the door, that's when you realize, oh, this person is important. I need a person to open the door. That's when you realize that incapable of opening the door, right? Sometimes we need to realize that sometimes we are not capable of doing something, we need help. And it's really like, it's really important for us to realize that sometimes we need help. Sometimes we need someone to someone to show us how to do things, right? Let's say I was in this lab, and this was my first time doing anything related to coding. So I never done coding before. And in that lab, we were supposed to do a coding related to R. I don't know if you guys heard of R coding. It's how Python, Java, there's different ones. So I had to do something related to R, and I don't know anything about it. I don't know the app. I don't know how to download it. I don't know anything how to go about it. So my the person I'm working with, she's a PhD candidate in the lab. So she's basically my mentor, and she showed me how to download it. She was on the Zoom call from the very start, and she was like, oh, you have to go on this app, and you have to download it, and you have to wait, you have to install these packages and everything. And that just made me realize, if she wasn't there, I would have not known how to go about this app. I wouldn't have known how to just function with this app, right? And that app, learning it's something I needed, but I didn't know how to do it. And she being there helping me really impacted the fact that I know now how to use the app. So at that time, I realized that she's important to me at that moment, right? And I'm just giving you guys this example because sometimes in life we will be given problems like that. We will be given obstacles like that, where we just realize that we are incapable of doing something. We realize that I need help, right? And when you need help deciding, when you need help, and let's say it's something so trivial, it's I just don't know how I feel about this, right? Let's say I go to this place, I don't know how I feel about in that place. I don't know if this place is good for me, environmental wise. Sometimes some variables in a situation is very small, but you are the only one who understands it. You're the only one who realizes. Let's say I go to this class, right? There's many more other times for this class. Let's say I'm taking math 123, and there's different timings for that class, right? And I go to a Monday, Tuesday option, and I go to a Thursday, Friday option, right? And it's the same class, but I am confused which one is good for me. It's such a small thing, and you're the only one who realizes it. Let's say you tell it to someone, I don't know which class, which professor is gonna make me understand the math better. And it's something between you and the professor. It's something how you learn, right? It's something so simple, but at the same time, you can describe it to someone. Someone can solve it for you. You have to be in that class to understand it, right? You have to be in that class to be oh, I think this professor explains the maths better. This professor, I don't think this professor explains it not that good, right? So you have to be in that situation to understand it. And when you think of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's name, Al-Fattah, that you have to be in that opposite side of the door to realize that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the only one who can open the door. And that opening the door, you can realize it if you're not faced with something. Sometimes we just oh, I wish this didn't happen. Why do I have to apply for this major again? Why do I have to apply for this class again? I wish this class I could have just taken it and be done with it. Sometimes we feel that, right? Sometimes we feel frustrated. Sometimes some things happen in our life and we're I wish it didn't go that way. I wish it went smoothly, right? But sometimes if it went smoothly, you would have realized that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is Al-Fattah. Sometimes he makes us realize by making us go through situations, right? And if you think about it, when we're gonna talk about one of Rasulullah's favorite companion, Umar radiallahu anhu, and at his time when he was around Rasulullah, it was at the beginning of the seerah, where he wasn't Muslim at that time, and everything Rasulullah did was something that he thought was something different, and he didn't support it. He was someone who really opposed Rasulullah, where to one point in his life he actually went out with a sword to kill Rasulullah. He was somebody who opposed Islam so passionately, right? But Allah was the one who opened his heart. He opened Allah had the key that opened his heart, which had a lock. And how did that happen? One night that Rasulullah was praying outside, And Umar radiallahu anh, he went out with his friends. So he wanted to hang out with his friends. And at that time, nobody was available. So he was going around and he's like, okay, nobody's here. Might as well just go to the Kaaba. And at the time, the Kaaba was still there, but it was mostly non-Muslim who was doing the pilgrimage, non-Muslim that were doing the Hajj, but they didn't, of course, believe in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, but they still did the ritual, which is Hajj, right? So he went there and he was standing there and he saw that Rasulullah was praying by the Kaaba. And he's like, okay, this is my chance. Let me hear what he's saying. Let me hear what he's about, right? Sometimes we feel curious about certain things, right? And sometimes you will see people in your life that are curious about Islam. They're like, oh, so what is this? What is that, right? And so Umar radiallahu anh, being that person, he went and he was close to Rasulullah when he was praying, and he's like, let me hear what he's saying. And Rasulullah was praying and he was reciting Surah Taha. And at that time, Rasulullah, like when Umar radiallahu anh first heard it, he's like, this must be like a talk of a poet. There couldn't be like someone who talks this eloquently. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, this is not a talk of the poet. And then at the time, Umar radiallahu anh was like, wait, maybe this must be something, word of a magician. And then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala replied in the same surah, which is so marvelous to think about, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala was basically answering Umar radiallahu anh, having a conversation with him, and without him even knowing. And he said, maybe this is a word of a magician. And then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, this is not a word of a magician. And at the time he felt a little bit strange, that why is my thoughts are something that's being somebody's replying to my thoughts, which I'm thinking in my head. And at the time he just went home feeling this certain way, feeling the fact that what is happening? Like, I don't know what is going on. So the next day when he heard that his sister converted to Islam, he actually went there and he was basically talking to his sister that, why did you convert? What happened? Why are you, believing in Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam? Why are you, supporting him? And at that time, his sister said that, come and sit and read for yourself, know what it is. See for yourself what it is. And at the time when Umar radiallahu first, heard his sister, and he basically realized this is the truth. And at that time, he just went straight ahead to Rasulullah. And, Rasulullah was with his companions at that time. So when they heard Umar radiallahu was coming, Rasulullah used to think of him a certain way. So he thought that maybe he came to attack him, that he's coming to attack me. And at that time, the person's house that Rasulullah was with, that person said that Rasulullah, you hide. I'm going to see the doors. Let's see who it is. And Umar radiallahu came and he's like, I came to take Shahada. I came to, accept Islam. So at that time, if you think about it, it's such a strange way how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala opened his heart. It was not something normal. If you think about it, he wasn't somebody who heard the message and he's like, oh, you know what? This is the truth. No. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala opened his heart. It's as if he had a door in front of his heart and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala had to have the key to open it, right? So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala was being Al-Fattah to him at that moment. And, sometimes we don't feel the same way about our prayers. Sometimes things happen where we don't feel like doing certain things. We don't feel like, oh, I just don't feel like, we have our bad hijab days. We have the days where we just I just want to stand and I don't know. I'm so lazy. I have to pray Isha. Do I have to pray Isha? We have those moments, right? And, it's so normal to have those moments where you see in Umar Allah's life story, right? He wasn't someone who was believing in the first go. He wasn't someone who heard it and he was the perfect Muslim where he heard the news, the message, and he was like, oh yeah, this is the truth. I'm gonna start, this is the truth. I'm a Muslim now. No, right? So he had a way, his life was written by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala a certain way. So our life too, sometimes we face this obstacle. Sometimes we feel lazy. Sometimes we have these negative feelings where we're like, I don't know, should I have to do this? Sometimes we feel that way, right? And it's very normal for us to feel that way because the best of the people also felt a certain way in the beginning, right? So when you feel this way that, oh, I don't know, I'm not tasting the sweetness of prayer, I'm not doing some things that I'm supposed to do, right? At that time, it's okay for you to feel that way. Know that the fact that if you pull yourself back up, right, it's okay to feel fatigue. It's okay to feel I'm so tired, I'm so stressed, right? It's okay to feel that way. accept the fact that you are feeling that way, and then move on with your life. You're like, okay, I'm feeling a little bit tired, and then go to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and be like, Ya Allah, I want you to give me comfort. I want you to give me the sweetness again, because He's the one who's Al-Fattah. So next time you feel certain way, you know who to go to, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You know which, you know what time you're feeling this way, and you know who to turn to at that moment, right? And it doesn't have to be necessarily where you're like praying and you're like, I have to like pray and then I have to make this dua. No, you can just make the dua at that moment. You can be like, Ya Allah. And sometimes you don't have to certainly like sit a certain way. You just casually you just sit and you're like, oh, I'm having a hard day. I'm feeling numb. I'm just not feeling the same way I felt about prayer. Just make it a casual, point in your life where you include Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in everything, right? So I'm gonna see the time. What time is it? Let's see. Okay, so we have time. Because I was thinking maybe when the bell rang, I thought it was gonna be I thought that it was already time. It's already 3 because I have a lab. So yeah. So when you think about Nuh alayhi salam, right? When you think about a life story, a person's life story, right? If someone who's favored by someone, let's say I have a favorite friend, right? And this friend is my favorite person, and I give this person gifts every single day. I see her, I give her a flower. I see her, I give her a chocolate, something, right? So let's say the fact that I'm giving her something, or I'm always favoring her, telling her nice things, that's how you know a person is favorite to someone, right? So I have a way of expressing my favoritism, which is the fact that I love this person, I'm my friend, a certain way, which is by giving gifts, right? So how does Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala favor someone? How does He treats that person? Right? Think about it I don't know if you guys heard of love languages. What is your love language? How do you love the people that is around you, right? Some people who likes to give gifts. Some people who does words of affirmation where you talk use give them strength, you say nice things. And sometimes it could be actions where you do certain things for your friend, you do certain things for your parents, you do certain things for your sister, right? Sometimes we have different ways of expressing ourselves, right? So how does Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala expresses His love? How does He do that? Certain things when you think about it, you're okay, my love language is gift giving, and her love language is she likes to do things for the person they love, right? How does Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala shows love when He loves someone, right? He gives them obstacles, and it's such a certain way, such a specific way to test the people. When you think about test, what does test even mean, right? So the way Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala shows love is by giving the person obstacle around your life journey. If you're someone who's favored by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, if you're someone who's loved by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He's gonna give you certain times where you just you're not gonna feel it. You're not gonna feel oh, everything is going wrong in my life, everything is just not going the way I want it to, right? Because if you think about the prophets, their life story, they were someone who's Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's most favorite people. If you think about it, how certain parents, they have their favorite child. Who was Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's favorite people, favorite group of people? It was the prophets, right? And if you look at their life, how did they lead their life? Their life was full of obstacles. If you think about Nuh alayhi salam, he was someone who was giving dawah, which was he was going to people, he was going to people's houses, he was talking to them, he was giving them the message of Islam. At that time was that believe in one God. And he was giving them years after years. One day went by, he went to their house, they listened, they're okay. The next day went by, he went to their house and they're okay, I heard it, And it's been years. He's going to the same people, he's giving them dawah. He's giving them the message. He's inviting them to Islam. And it's been years, it's been months, it's going after 100 years pass by. And the same people, they have their children and their grandchildren, they know him to be someone who gives the message, and they don't believe. And when you think about it, a person, think about the side of from the perspective of Nuh alayhi salam, that he's giving, he's going, he's hopeful they're gonna become Muslim. He's hopeful that they're gonna listen to him, right? He's being this hopeful person for 950 years. And he's going to them and he's just giving them dawah, and they're listening, but they're not responding. right? And how does it make Nuh alayhi salam feel that, Ya Allah, am I truly doing something? Is anything even happening? Am I, the fact that I'm a prophet, is that even affecting anybody else, right? Like, a person to lose hope in that moment is just something so natural, right? But Nuh alayhi salam was kept on going, kept on going. He was kept on knocking doors of the same people, kept on knocking doors of the children of the same people, kept on knocking doors of the grandchildren of the same people. And they all heard of him, and they're like, oh, this is the same person who came to my grandfather, great grandfather. And he's the same person who's going and giving dawah, right? And at that time, if you think about it, Nuh alayhi salam was someone who kept on going, right? And he was given this obstacle where people are not necessarily listening to him, right? And at the end, he achieved victory because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, made him build a ship, and then he obviously took the people that believed in him and he went on safety because there was a big flood, right? So when you think about their life story, that they also were someone who didn't have it easy. The things for them didn't go as smoothly as they would have wanted it, right? Like, if you think about it, Nuh would have wanted people to listen to him. He would have wanted people to come to Islam, because it's for their good, right? But they weren't listening. They weren't responding. But at the time, Nuh kept on going, right? So, and finally, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala opened the door for him. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, being Al-Fattah, he opened the door by, he made the ship. So if you think about like their life story, like, I gave you guys an example of Umar radiallahu anh, I gave you guys an example of Nuh alayhi salam, that they went through so many things. And if you think about our beloved Rasulullah, he didn't have it easy either. He was the last and final prophet, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's most beloved person, his most beloved. But if you think of from him being a child, he lost both of his parents. He lost his grandfather, the one that was so close to him, the one who took care of him. And at that time, at the end, he had his uncle, who was his favorite person, right? And at the deathbed of his uncle, he went to him and he's like, just say La ilaha illallah. That's all you have to do. Just say the shahada, and you're gonna be a Muslim, and I'm gonna live in peace because I know that you're gonna go to Jannah, right? I can go to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and be like, Ya Allah, he became Muslim. He wanted to just appeal for him, right? And to his deathbed, until his last moment, he couldn't say it. He didn't say it. He died as a non-Muslim. And to be Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's favorite, and to see your favorite person not accepting Islam, how did that make feel like that? How did that make Rasulullah feel, right? Like, if you think about it, he would have been like, I'm Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's most favorite person, and nothing in my life is going easy. I just lost my wife. I just lost my uncle. I lost my parents when they passed away. I lost my grandfather. And if you think about it, his lifetime, he lost all of his children died in his lifetime. He only had Fatima radiallahu anha, who who lived after him, right? So if you think about it, he witnessed so many deaths, right? And if you think about anybody's life, right, one of our close member dying just feels so heavy on us. It takes us such a long time to heal from it, to accept the fact that they passed away. But think about Rasulullah. He had people throughout his lifetime, since he was a kid until he grew up. He had his family, everybody in his life, his closest people were passing away in front of his eyes. And he's the most sweetest person you'll ever meet. He's someone who made other people feel so, so loved, that at the end, when they go home, or they think that they're his favorite, right? That's how careful he was with people. Like, that's how much he cared about people, right? So if you think about it, he didn't have it easy either, right? So his whole lifetime, he was going through obstacles after obstacles after obstacles, right? But when the door opened, when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala became Al-Fattah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has always been Al-Fattah to him, that, the conquest of Makkah, the things that didn't turn out his way were basically turning out his way. And Allah was writing him the greatest story where, conquest of Makkah happened, where Rasulullah went into Makkah as a person of victory, like he became victorious. And at that time, the people of Makkah were asking him, the fact that, oh, we did so much wrong to you, how are you going to treat us? What do you have for us? How do you want us? And Rasulullah asked them, he's like, how do you want me to treat you? And then they said that, oh, you should treat us the way Yusuf alayhi salam treated his brothers. And if you guys know the story, that, his brothers also did something really wrong to Yusuf alayhi salam, and he forgave them. And Rasulullah said, I will be to you how Yusuf alayhi salam was to his brothers, and he forgave them. And if you think about it, they were doing something they were doing horrible things to Rasulullah. They kicked him out of his home country. And just to be like, just to think of his life and contrast it to what's happening in Gaza, they're also being forced out of their own home, right? And they're going to find that peace in, learning that their beloved also went through something like that. So if you think about it, how also that connects different dots, how if Rasulullah didn't go through those things in his life, people right now, his ummah wouldn't have find comfort in him. Now we are finding comfort in him. Everything that can go wrong, right? We look at his life and we're like, oh, Rasulullah went through something similar. You relate to him more. And if he didn't go through all those things, people right now, his ummah, wouldn't have been able to relate to him, right? And when you relate to a person more, you love them more. So Allah was paving the way for him to be all of our beloved. And at that time, it must have looked like he is going through something so miserable. He's having such a bad life, right? He's having such a horrible life. But Allah was writing his life in a way where thousands and millions of, Muslims, us, right? We relate to his life. Anything that goes wrong, a mother losing their child, they can look into Rasulullah's life and they're like, you know what? He also went through something similar. And then, people who are being forced out of their home, they look at his life and they're like, you know what? He went through something similar, right? So also being Al-Fattah in a way we can't comprehend, So we're gonna maybe end here. And yeah, so this is what I was saying last time too. When you think of Allah's name being Al-Fattah, it's something that's just, we can go on and on, right? So that's where I want to end off this, this semester's last halaqah, that, when you think about there's one door that's being closed in front of your face, where you think that there's no way out, where you think that I have to choose, I am choosing this option, I don't know if it's good for me or if it's bad for me, right? Even the fact that even if you choose the wrong option, that's Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala being Al-Fattah to you, that He's going to guide you to the right one, that He's going to be always there for you because He is Al-Fattah, that He's the one who's going to open doors, and the doors that you never knew existed. When you think about his life, Rasulullah's life, that he went through so many things, but he didn't know the effectiveness. He didn't know what was actually gonna be good for him. And now, now years later, 14,000 years later, we see how we relate to him even more than we would have wanted to, we would have expected to, right? So we're gonna end off here that, no matter when you see a door closing in front of your face, when you see something going wrong in your life, that's basically going right according to how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants it to be. And He's Al-Fattah, that He's always going to be someone who's going to open the door for you. And the door is going to be open. That's a positive thing. That's going to happen. Because that's also this promise to us, right? So we're going to end up here and we're going to make a small dua. And inshallah you guys can join me. Ya Rabbal Alameen, Arhamar Rahimin, Ya Dhul Jalali wal Ikram. Our brothers and sisters in Gaza, Syria, Congo, Sudan, Uyghur, Afghanistan, Lebanon, Kashmir, wherever they're suffering, Allah grant them Jannatul Firdaus A'la. Allow them to be reunited with their family members in the highest level of Jannatul Firdaus A'la. Allow them to only remember the good times, the good memories. Allow them to forget all the hardship, all the atrocities that they've ever witnessed, Ya Allah. And allow the reunion with their family members in the highest level of Jannatul Firdaus A'la to heal all of their wounds, both physical and mental. And Ya Allah, allow us to have a beautiful ending of the semester. Allow us to pass all of our classes, allow us to get good grades in all of our finals, and Ya Allah, allow us to shine wherever we go fit dunya. And I'm gonna end up here.